How's it going, YouTube? Welcome back to Opinion Piece. It's Thaddeus once again, and today I'm going to be ranking all of the arcs in One Piece. Alright, so the way we're going to be doing the video and structuring everything today is going to be, we're going to go in chronological order, right? So from beginning to end, or beginning to current. I'm not going to be including Elbaf because it's still going on, so I don't want to give it a full ranking until it's complete. We're going to be going all the way up until Egghead Island, and we're going to be ranking them S, A, B, C, D, and F. S being the best, obviously, and F being the worst. Along with the rankings of each arc, I'm going to be just naming one character that is pretty much just in that arc, maybe in another arc as well, but something that you basically only see in that one arc, and just naming one or two events that happened that I felt like were important to me or important to the story. But yeah, so getting into the first arc of the show, it will be Romance Dawn. For Romance Dawn, I'll be giving it a B as the grade. The one character I would like to highlight in there would be the Lord of the Coast, which is the big sea serpent. It plays an important role multiple times in the arc. The first time would be when it bites off Shanks' arm, which there's a bunch of theories now of why and how that happened. It's been changing for a long time, but now some of them are materializing a little bit. But also, he bites off Shanks' arm, but then also Luffy one-shots him on the way out to begin his journey. So it's a really big conspiracy there, because anyways, a lot goes into that, but we'll move on. One of the bigger events there will be Luffy meeting Shanks and getting to know everybody, and Shanks giving him the straw hat, so that's obviously very important to the story. And it's where Luffy's journey begins, You see him as a kid, but then as soon as he hits his late teenage years, he goes on his own voyage. So, pretty good arc overall. The second arc of the series is Orange Town. And overall, as a grade, I would give it a C. A couple of cool things happen. You meet Buggy. Buggy has a devil fruit. And, obviously him and Luffy get into a fight. Luffy wins, of course. Luffy and Nami decide to travel together at that point, so that's also pretty important. And my favorite random character from that island would be Chow Chow, which is the little dog that protects the shop even though the owner is passed away. But it's just a really cool character. I love dogs, and it just shows true loyalty, so I love Chow Chow. Chow Chow's pretty cool. The third arc of the manga would be Syrup Village. I'll be giving Syrup Village a C as a grade. Obviously, that's where we meet Usopp and his little fake pirate crew. I thought a really cool character from this one would be Captain Kuro. I just thought he was a really good bad guy at the time, because Buggy was pretty cool, but just he wasn't as clever and as battle ready as Captain Kuro was. So I think he stands out to me the most from there. And besides that, a very important crew member other than Usopp is found in Syrup Village, and this is going to be the Going Merry, which obviously comes on for a very long ride with us. The next arc is the Baratier. Overall, I give this an A as a grade because this was one of the first arcs where everything gets super chaotic. As soon as you feel like you know what direction it's going in, it changes direction and pivots. So I felt like that was a really cool aspect. And for this arc, my highlighted character is going to be Jin. Even though Don Krieg did not treat him very well, he still showed some true loyalty and was a very powerful fighter on top of that. Also, Zoro runs into Mihawk. That's pretty nuts. He winds up losing, but is still set on wanting to be the number one swordsman in the world. So it just kind of shows him where his goal is and how he needs to work towards it. Also, obviously, we pick up Sanji there. Very important, right? He's the cook of the crew. But a big twist towards the end is that Nami betrays everybody, takes the ship, and goes back to her village. So that was a pretty crazy twist to end it off on. All right, next is Arlong Park. Overall, I'm going to be giving this one an A as well. A lot of important things happen for the story. Obviously, Nami has trust issues because of her past, and that's why she betrayed her, her soon-to-be crewmates at the end of that last arc. But they gain her trust. She winds up asking them for help, and of course, they jump right into action, and they defeat Arlong and his crew. They wind up leaving, which liberates the town. And going on through the story, this becomes a theme where the Straw Hats go places and they liberate them in one way or another. So this is the first one that they liberate, and this is the first victory as a crew. So I thought that was very important. The character I would like to highlight in this arc would be Genzo. I felt like he was a nice little father figure slash uncle figure for Nami and her sister after their adopted mom had passed away. So I just liked his character. I liked the design. He has a pinwheel on his hat. I thought it was very memorable and very different for him. Moving on to Logtown. I give Logtown a B overall. It's just a cool little place in between them leaving the East Blue and getting into the Grand Line. It's a town of legend, man. It's where Gold Roger was executed, so that's a pretty big deal. Luffy winds up being on the same execution block, and he narrowly escapes death. Buggy is trying to get revenge on him and almost does, but by a stroke of luck, he's able to get away. The character I'm going to want to highlight here is Roll. He is the bartender at a famous bar in this town, and he served and talked to Gold Roger a lot whenever he was in town. And, they exchanged stories and they were friends. So just hearing about Roger and that kind of lore is always cool. In this place, you meet a lot of random characters that wind up being very big deal and very big parts of the story later on, like Smoker. He's trying to detain Luffy. And you also have Dragon, who is Luffy's father. Obviously, we don't know that at this point, and we also don't know that he's one of the most wanted people in the world. So big deal, but B overall, solid arc. Next is Reverse Mountain. Overall, as a grade, I give it a C. Not much really happens after they get up and over the mountain, and they see Laboon and Crocus over there. Laboon is obviously waiting for his friends to return, but obviously it's not the Straw Hats. Crocus is a legendary pirate, but acts like he's just some regular guy, so you don't figure out he's important until way later on. He has a weird contraption on the inside of Laboon, keeping it healthy, so the technology in that is pretty crazy and weird, but Crocus later is revealed to be the doctor of the Roger crew. So it makes sense, it's pretty cool, but it is pretty random. All right, Whiskey Peak. Overall, I'm gonna give Whiskey Peak a C. It is the town of bounty hunters, but it has a very eerie beginning where it kind of seems like the Straw Hats are being celebrated because they want pirates in their town. Winds up being a big fat trap with a bunch of bounty hunters, but they bit off a bit more than they can chew because Zoro pretty much manhandled all of them. The character that sticks out to me the most in this arc is going to be Miss Monday. She's the super buff black chick who has pink hair. Just when she's fighting Zoro, which is a pretty epic little scene, so I always remember her from the arc. Great character design overall with a lot of them. They are all wacky and crazy looking. Another event that kind of stands out in this arc to me would be when Luffy and Zoro have a brief fight, but it's only because Luffy wakes up and believes that Zoro just beat up a bunch of people that had served them food, but he had no idea they had tried to murder everybody. So Zoro did the right thing. Luffy was just a bit confused there. Next up is Little Garden. I give Little Garden a B overall. Little Garden is a pretty crazy short arc. It's our introduction to giants, so we know giants are part of the One Piece world at this point. It's two captains fighting over a feud that they've been fighting for about 100 years at this point. It's just an epic battle between two, just battle-ridden soldiers, and they feel like the only way they can settle this is duke it out. So it is pretty cool to watch. Um, the character that kind of stands out to me in this arc would be the giant goldfish at the end, because it's Usopp's first lie to come true. He used to tell a lie like that to his friend in his village, that he saw a goldfish so big that when it pooped, they thought it was an island. And they run into that actual goldfish there, even though he had no idea it was true. So I thought that was very interesting and very fun. But Dory and Bragi wind up killing the goldfish at the end in order for the Straw Hat crew to get away safely, because that goldfish was just eating every pirate ship that left the island. Next is going to be Drum Island. Overall, I give Drum Island a B. It's a solid arc. It's pretty cool. It's the first winter island that we encounter. The landscape is pretty weird. It's, they call it Drum Island. It looks like two giant, stand-up drums that make up the mountains. This is obviously where we meet and have Chopper join the crew. The character that stands out the most to me in this arc is going to be Wapple. Obviously, he's very weak as far as battle is concerned, and not very smart at all. Yeah, Wapple's devil fruit was very interesting because he could eat things and just combine them within his body and spit them out combined. It's a weird power, but I thought it was very interesting. Another thing that I believe is very well highlighted in this arc is the selflessness and sacrifice that Luffy does for his crew. Obviously Nami is sick. They're trying to get her some medicine. They stop their whole journey. They stop the whole trip to Alabasta, even though they're on a bit of a time crunch, because they know that Nami is very important to the crew as well as her safety. So, and then on top of that, when Luffy's climbing the mountain with his bare feet in the frigid cold, and he was basically frostbitten really bad, but he still wanted his crewmates to be treated before him. So I thought that was a pretty cool moment for him. Alabasta gets an A from me. It was a very big arc with a lot of momentous things happening all at once, and all of them wind up being very important to the story later on. In Alabasta, we defeat our first warlord. The only one we had encountered before that was Mihawk, but he wasn't really trying, to fight or kill anybody. But Crocodile was trying to rule the whole country. Just like I said before, this is a running theme in the show. This is the first major country that Luffy liberates. He had only liberated Nami's village prior, but this one's a whole country, so this one's a bit more of a big deal, especially since they defeated a warlord to do it. The character that stands out the most to me in this arc is Toto, which is Koza's father. And a lot of people felt bad for him because Crocodile kept sending a sandstorm to his village and basically burying all of his work and his house every day with sand. And people were like, oh, that's very, like he's bullying him and all that stuff. But to me, Toto wins all day because he was living rent-free in Crocodile's head, because Crocodile had to send a sandstorm there every day. So it was like pissing him off on the inside. So to me, I see that as a victory. So that's why he stands out to me. Sure. Yeah, people, my dog wanted some attention, so gotta give him a little minute, He's a good boy. Okay. All right, next on the list is Jaya. Jaya gets a B as a grade. This one was kind of the arc in between Alabasta and getting to Skypiea. So not a lot happens that's important to the story except for them finding the way to get there. But a big moment as far as character development, in my opinion, is when Bellamy is talking trash to Luffy and Zoro, and they just kind of let him do it, and he winds up trying to bully them and beat them up, and they just kind of take it on the chin. They don't move. They let him say what he's going to say. And they know that a guy like that who really doesn't believe in anything or has any kind of real dream, they know he's not worth fighting, so they kind of let that be. This is also where they first encounter Blackbeard, and they seem to have similar stances on a lot of things as far as how they see the world. So that was interesting. That was just a very interesting moment there. The character that stands out the most to me in this arc is going to be Bellamy, just because it really shows how much Luffy has grown when Bellamy finally challenges Luffy to a real fight. And Luffy just kind of one-shots him. It seems like he's going to be like some big battle and this is going to take a while, but Luffy is just so pissed at that moment that he puts everything he has into that punch and just knocks him out on the first try. So I felt like it was a big hype moment for Luffy, so that's kind of what stands out to me from that arc. Moving on to Skypiea. Skypiea gets an A for me. It's just kind of a crazy tale, just an island in the sky. You know, they're flying on clouds. There's like cloud rivers and cloud land. It's just really crazy concept. Oda coming up with that and putting it together to me was, amazing. This is also somewhere where they, for the first time, face opponents that have observation hockey that's very strong. And, so they predict people's moves and all that stuff. So it's a new obstacle for them, but obviously they learn from it and they wind up beating everybody, including Eneru. Eneru gets away on his flying ship, but he's still relevant in the story. People are always theorizing on when he's going to come back. So that's still yet to be seen. It'll be exciting if it actually does happen. The character that stands out the most to me in this arc is going to be Gonfall, because at the moment we were in like very big trouble and he just swoops in on some crazy flying horse and he's like dressed up in like knight's armor. So when that happens, you're just kind of like, whoa, what am I even watching right now? But it's pretty cool, pretty epic, and I just like his character overall. Next, and my least favorite of the whole series, is going to be Longland. Let me tell you, basically nothing happens in this arc. It's a big waste. If I do rewatch, I always skip past it. The only thing of relevance that happens here is they encounter Aokiji at the end, and it kind of just foreshadows issues that the crew is going to have later on with Robin. But besides that, I'm not even going to talk about it. I don't really like it, so I give it an F. From my least favorite to one of my top choices is Water 7. Water 7 gets an S. Water 7 is full of ups and downs. Most of them are downs. There's a lot of moments where you feel really helpless in the show. Usopp quits the crew because of the debate between whether or not to repair the Mary. Robin winds up running off because she feels like she's just going to bring everybody down because of her past. So there's betrayal, there's infighting. The storm is coming. It's very ominous. So it's just such a crazy arc, but this is the first time you truly feel helpless in the show, in my opinion. One thing that stands out to me in this arc is the landscape. It looks like a giant fountain, but it's a town. So I know it's supposed to be based off of Venice, and Venice is a very pretty town as well, but just they take it to another level with this. Oda is super creative, and I just love watching this arc. The character who stands out the most to me in this arc is going to be Paulie. He's the guy who works, who's a shipwright, and he's the one who controls the ropes. A lot of people speculate that he has devil fruit powers, but it's been confirmed multiple times that he does not. But he's skilled with the ropes. They're just second to none. So he's very fun to watch. Another one of my favorites here, Enies Lobby. I give it an S. It's one of the best arcs in the show. So many just pivotal moments and character building is it's amazing. The Lucci battle was absolutely epic. Luffy also gains gear 2nd and gear 3rd here, and he actually uses them. So, man, so many big moments here. It's hard to really pick from, but the Lucci battle was my favorite for a really long time. Now in the series, he's obviously not as big of a threat as he used to be, which is shown at Egghead, but still a great character and a great bad guy. The character that stands out the most to me here is going to be Baskerville. Baskerville's this huge 3-headed judge that sees criminals on this island before they go through the gates of justice and basically sentences them to death without any real trial. People just walk in, they're like, yep, death penalty, see ya, get out of here. But it turns out to be 3 guys in a suit, so you'd think it's a 3-headed person, but it's not, just 3 guys. in a costume, basically.
All right, we'll bring the rest of the series to you with part 2. Hope you guys have a good one. See you later.